Hi, I'm Dr. Redant, and I'm a lecturer in biological sciences. I'm excited to share with you what it looks like to be enrolled in an online course in biology.
So what does it look like to take my class online? Well, pretty similar to what it looked like to take it in person. All course materials are accessed through Canvas, our learning management system. This is where students find things like announcements, assignments, and grades. Each module contains its own week's worth of material. The first thing that you can find in each of these modules is a list of learning objectives and an outline to guide note-taking when you're watching or listening to lectures. A critical component of my teaching philosophy is clear expectations and transparency. This course contains a lot of content, so providing students with a list of tasks that they should be able to complete before exam times really helps students to focus their effort on the most important content. It also helps to reduce confusion and anxiety regarding what content might show up on the exam. After this list of things that students should be able to do comes an outline. This has a general text outline as well as some critical pictures that will also appear in my lecture slides. The next thing in each module are the video lectures. These lectures contain embedded questions to help students think about how content from each video relates to things that they already know, as well as other topics in the course. As you can see here, students have multiple attempts on these quizzes, which allows them to really focus on learning and not just getting answers correct. Other items in each weekly module are quizzes and assignments. You can see those down here, some quizzes and some other assignments. The textbook we use in this course is a smart book. It allows me to create assignments that adapt to students' current level of understanding and provide appropriate resources when students are struggling. This is an example of an adaptive assignment. Students answer questions, and as they do so, they rate their confidence in that answer. As students correctly answer questions, these learning concepts get completed. If a student gets too many questions in a row wrong, the assignment will force them to use a resource in order to better understand the content before they keep answering questions. Sometimes it will be the ebook, other times there will be videos or other animations that will help students really understand the content before they return to the questions. These types of assignments are graded for completion. The software will continue to provide resources, support, and questions until it determines that a student has completed all of the learning concepts that I've assigned. In addition to lecture, this course also has a lab component. In face-to-face labs, students study models, dissect fetal pigs, and perform experiments and simulations. These sessions are led by graduate teaching assistants who continue to work closely with me to interact with their students online. Lab sections are made up of a smaller number of students, which allows for more individual interactions and specific feedback from instructors. So how do we replicate face-to-face activities online? Well, almost anything that we do in person can be replicated online. Just like lecture content, the Lab Canvas site is organized into weekly modules. Within those modules, there are a number of quizzes and activities that students complete. Each activity begins with a list of learning objectives. Again, it's important to be very clear about expectations when existing in this online world. After that, there are a number of different things that might show up. There could be links that will take students into a different program where they can find animations and histology images, or even embedded videos from other instructors. One of the resources students have access to is a virtual cadaver. I can guide students through dissections of specific organs or regions of the body. Here we're looking at a kidney. I can take away one layer and then look for specific structures. The outside is called the cortex. If I want to learn more, I just click here. I can watch an animation about it. I can have it pronounced for me, or I can go back to the list and look for other parts of the kidney, like the inside, the medulla. Having this additional content allows students to explore and learn more about specific topics that they're most interested in.
Another tool that we use for lab simulations are literal experimental simulations. The same software that I showed you before for the adaptive reading assignment also contains simulated labs. Here we're measuring a patient's blood pressure. This is something that we've previously done face-to-face, but we can simulate just as well. After I open the valve, we can see pressure dropping, and you can't hear it, but you can see this little line showed up when I first began to hear court cough sounds. This indicates that our systolic blood pressure is just a little bit under 120, and our diastolic pressure, which showed up here, is right around 70 millimeters of mercury. So after completing the different activities, how do students demonstrate their knowledge and understanding of this content? Here's an example of an assignment we used this spring. In this assignment, students were assigned a food item from a bank of different foods. They worked through questions that had them assess the types of nutrients and then follow these nutrients through the processes of digestion, absorption, transport in the blood, and eventually metabolism at some target organ.
Students can't simply look up the answers to all of these questions. They have to use facts that were provided across different activities and think critically to follow nutrients through this entire process. Taking a course in anatomy and physiology online is definitely a little bit different than when we do so face-to-face. However, students are continuing to achieve learning outcomes that will allow them to progress towards degree completion as well as their future career goals. Moving to online instruction has forced me to take a very close look at what learning outcomes are most important in the course and how to enable my students to best achieve them in a remote learning format. I hope you enjoyed this tour of the course, and I look forward to meeting many of you, whether online or in person, in the future.